Hello, creative people. This is Catherine with aMotleyArt, and today I am wrapping up my videos for the Wonderland Scrapbooking Workshop Kit by Close to My Heart. So I'm actually going to be making 4 layouts, 2 double spreads, 6x6. So I love this workshop kit. It has been really a lot of fun. I just love the patterns and the coloring of this kit. The colors are charcoal, glacier, wisteria, and mulberry that they use primarily in this kit. And I just think it's just really beautiful. And it does really, to me, give that kind of sense of a snowy day. I just think it really makes me think of that. So in this kit, there was one sheet that had 3 different circles. The idea was on a 12 by 12 you would put images into each of the circles, but because I'm doing 6x6, I had to decide to do something different. I was able to cut out 2 of the circles into their own individual mat. So for this first page, I really wanted to make a shaker because, when you have a big circle cut out of a piece of paper, it just screams shaker. So I wanted the background to come out as well. I really loved that pattern paper, and I really wanted it to still be that you could still see a lot of it. So but I also wanted to have a little bit of a darker mat around the lighter mat to just kind of give it a little bit more depth and to pop off the page a little bit more. So I created this underneath piece, this second mat, as you can call it, the purple one, and as you saw, I just drew a circle around and I cut it out, and then I'm putting my acetate in between these 2 layers, just kind of sandwiching it in there, and then I'm gonna put my foam on the back of this double mat piece so that you can kind of see through and see that beautiful green paper with those different kind of evergreen pieces that I just think are so pretty. So I'm using 2mm foam tape here to make this, and it's a 1/4 inch tape. I just thought it would be easier to be able to bend it around the circle using the 1/4 inch. So that's what I did. And then I pulled out some snowflake sequins that I had. Now this is just out of my stash. As you can see, they're recollection. So they did not come from Close to My Heart. They came from Michael's, but I've had them for several years and I really wanted to use them because I just knew the size was going to work really well with how big this circle was, and they're just so pretty. I just think they're so pretty. Look how they shimmer and shine. But I kind of miscalculated. I was thinking about this as the way that I normally put a shaker together, but this is a little bit of a different type of shaker because I need to make sure that that there is a frame and I'm not putting the back on to just cover up the foam. So I had to kind of dump them back out. But normally that is how I would do a shaker, is I like to lay down the top of the shaker face down with the foam facing up, put in my bits, and then put the bottom on. I find it's a little bit easier to do that way. And I find that I get a better idea of how much I need in the shaker pocket, because I think for me that is one of the hardest parts of making a shaker, is filling it full enough but not too full. And it's definitely an art that you just have to make a bunch to get used to, kind of getting a sense of how much you want to put in there. So now I'm gonna add on some bits that are going to have a lot of text on here. So this particular layout is going to have a lot of text on it, because they had these wonderful die cuts that kind of go around the circles, and in the inspiration you put them on each of the 3 circles. But because I'm not doing that, I decided I wanted to just go ahead and put them all onto this one focal kind of art journal type page first, and then do some other things with the other pieces that I have. So on my second spread, that's going to match this spread, that's going to have the same background paper as this one. you'll see that I still use that circle. But then on the next two spreads, I'm actually going to cut that piece in half. The circle is going to be cut in half, and I'm going to cover that up. So I just went ahead and after I had laid these out, then I just went ahead and glued them down because I knew that's what I wanted. I really love the way that this look came out. I think it's still easy to read, even though it's not as linear as you would expect text to be. I still think you get the gist of it very easily. So, and I do love that song. I think that's one of Christmas carols that I really enjoy. So then I added a little bit more here to the bottom. So first I'm going to do a couple of trees, and I like how they did these kind of trees. They're really whimsical to me, and when I think of a winter wonderland, that's what I think of, is like a forest being covered in snow. That's exactly what I think of. So I wanted to add these trees, and then the sticker sheet for this kit was really wonderful, and it had just so many great little icons to it, and so I decided to put one of those on as well. And I'm going to end up popping this up with some foam dots just to give it a little bit more dimension. And this spread did come out with a lot of dimension, but I think it really looks beautiful, and I love how it worked out. So I'm just going to show you here how I put on a bunch of these dots on the back. I do use a lot of foam. When I use foam dots, I use a lot because I don't like to have any parts dip later on. Now these are cardstock stickers, so they are more firm. They're not real flimsy, so they're going to hold themselves up a good bit, but I just want to make sure that they're not going to dip later. Next, I'm going to add a few enamel dots, which also came with this kit, which is one of the things that I really love because, you know, this is the lovely mulberry color, and they have the, I think there's some of the wisteria colored, and I can just use those later too, just as long as I'm using the same color family, you can use those. And I just think that's wonderful that they're so versatile. Even after I'm done with this kit, if I have extra, I definitely will be able to incorporate them into some other items. And I do love enamel dots. I love the way they look. I just think they give a nice little extra they give a different type of texture and a different type of bling. It's different from something like a rhinestone, and I just really like that. So that is one of the main reasons I actually wanted this workshop. I mean, I did love the imagery in this workshop with, again, the little houses and all the people out in the snow and having fun, and it just was so lovely. And kind of whimsical, but not too whimsical. Kind of homey as well, I thought. But I also saw those enamel dots, and I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want this workshop kit so I can have those and have some extra in my stash, because I know I don't usually use up all of the enamel dots with one of these kits. I usually always have extras, and then I can use them later, and I love having that in my stash. So I decided for this layout, this is the one where I'm going to be able to put a photo, that I want to put the photo in the circle. Now, they did show in their inspiration that they used a photo that was big enough to fill the whole circle. I probably won't do that. I'll probably do a smaller circle. I think I could do a 3x3 with no problems, because I think this is a little over 4 inches. And so I wanted that purple to be seen this time, so that there will be kind of like a mat behind the image as well. So I just decided to offset those two squares, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of clusters on here. And as you can see, I had a bunch of those little house die cuts that I just love. I think they're so adorable, but it needed something up there in the upper right hand corner. So there was a sticker banner that I decided to use, and then put a word sticker on top of that with the winter magic, because winter does have its own sort of magical feel to it. that I just really love. I have to say, I think my favorite time of year is fall, but I do really enjoy winter as well, because I'm not a heat person. I'm one of those people that definitely lives by the saying that you can always put something on, but you can only take so much off. So that is why summer is not really my favorite time of year. It's especially I live in the South and it gets really hot here in the United States, and it's just not always my favorite, but I do love the winter. We do have more mild winters because we have really hot summers, so that's nice. We don't always get a ton of snow every single year, but that's okay. So we'll have to see. This video is going up in January of 2022, and we'll have to see. So far it's actually been a really warm winter, like crazy warm, and I am hoping we get a really big cold snap soon, but I don't know if we're going to get snow or not. I do work remotely right now, so if we did, it's not going to be a big deal for me as far as work is concerned. So it wouldn't be a bad year to get snow, but we'll have to wait and see. So I wanted to add a few extra little bits to these clusters. So I added some star stickers and then the enamel dots. And then I even brought out some rhinestones because I just thought they would finish off the sparkle really nicely. And so now I moved on to my next two sets. And then these next two pages are really, really going to go together because I'm using that big focal image and I'm going to spread it across the two sheets. And I really like doing that sometimes. I think it just looks really pretty and really brings your eye across both of the sheets. So here is where I have the rest of that top mat that had the circle, and so you can see that I have these two big half circle cutouts in this piece of paper, but I am going to cover them both. But I did want a little separation from the background, so I also double matted this as well with some cardstock, with just the solid cardstock, and I'm actually using the lighter side of the cardstock. So I like that you have those options of a darker side and a lighter side. And then I cut that big mountain motif in half, and now I'm just trying to figure out exactly how far down I wanted it on the page, and I'm going to put my photo mat there on the right hand side. So the left hand side gets completely covered up. I didn't have to do anything else. The motif was big enough, but on the right hand side it was not big enough to cover everything, so I thought that's the perfect place to put my photo mat. So this just kind of shows you can use so many different types of scraps. You don't have to have a perfect sheet every single time. There are ways to use up scraps, and nobody's going to know unless you tell them. I mean, you guys now know my secret for this particular layout, but if you hadn't seen this video, you wouldn't know that I had done that for these layouts because it's just completely covered. So think about your scraps like that sometimes. Like, do you have enough? Can you hide what is not perfect? And go ahead and use it. So I also wanted to pop up the photo mat just to give it, I think when you pop up your photo mat, it just really helps to draw your eye to the photo mat. You just instinctively can see that there is a shift and that that's closer to you, and you just kind of look at it a little bit quicker. And then they had these really nice kind of larger motifs on the sticker sheet, so I'm going to use two of those, one on each side, and then of course this big round sentiment one that I really thought was cute. It says all bundled up, and I think that's a cute sentiment, and I went ahead and popped that up as well, just to give it a little bit of a balance on this left side, similar to the balance that I have on the right side. And then I used a couple other stickers to make a little cluster up there in the top, and I just feel like that really now balances out this whole two spreads in a way that it brings your eye across really well across this whole two spreads, and the composition just looks really, really nice. So I'm adding on my enamel dots, of course, and I'm going to add on some rhinestones as well because I just wanted sort of that idea of sparkle that you get when there's, a fresh snow on the ground. And I had one more of those star stickers, so I had put it over there around the sentiment. But while I was working, I remembered that I had some star sequins from like a 4th of July set. And I thought, I wonder if these would look good. And there are some silver ones. So I kind of took a couple out to look, and I just loved them. I was like, yes, this goes perfect. This goes wonderful. So I'm going to add 3 star sequins onto this layout as well. And I tend to like to turn my sequins what I guess most people would say is upside down. So instead of them cupping up, they cup down, and that way they look a little bit more like an enamel dot. You still get the shine off of them. You don't lose that. Even with the round ones, you don't lose the sparkle. It just looks more like an enamel dot, and I feel like you're less likely for it to snag on something. So I end up taking that star sticker off because I'm going to put one more of those silver stars, and I just think they really make this layout just perfect. I just love the way that it looks, and I'm really excited to put an image on here. So if you have watched all the way through to this part of the video, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope that you will like this video and subscribe if you haven't. I do plan to continue to post at least once a week through 2022. So I would love it if you join me on my journey of doing these different scrapbook pages. And as you can see here, I did decide to add some shimmer, and I'm using one of my shimmer pens. Now, I do have a couple of different types of shimmer pens, so I think this one is the Spectrum. I just grabbed whichever one was closest to me, and I just added it to the snow here at the bottom, along with putting it onto the sentiment, because I did think the sentiment needed a little bit more zing. And then here are the other two side by side, and you can see that lovely shaker. So I hope this inspired you to do some layouts. You don't always have to do a large layout if you don't feel like it. You can do small art just as well. And I hope that you have a very creative day.